Your characters suck. Your books suck. And you want to know why? I'm going to tell you why, okay? It's because nobody likes your morals. You're boring. That's what it is. Your characters are boring. Your main characters are boring, and you make them shallow. But don't worry, I'll help you. A common issue that I'm seeing right now in writing, in all sorts of writing, and this includes you, Marvel, with your new Snowflake and Safe Space characters.
This idea that these are terms that get thrown around on the internet
Is that a lot of writers believe in creating moral storytelling or moral content or ethical content. And then what does that translate into? It usually translates into your protagonist or your group of protagonists being morally sound for the most part. You know, they copy the ideas and the morals of the writer. So because the writer wants to project, I'm a good person, these characters are good persons, thus we are good people together, and so this is who you need to, cheer for. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Specifically, this is a double-edged sword, okay? In some cases, you really want that. You want your characters. Let me give you a little bit of advice from my favorite villain of all time.
I don't think insurance is gonna cover this one. Oh, Reese, you absolute dick. Look what you done. I built this place. My own 2 hands. And a couple of hundred expendable workers. Now it's rubble. So, thanks for that. Asshole.
How does it feel, Jack? To lose. Again.
If I'm honest, kid, feels pretty shitty. I'm proud of you, kid. You didn't stop at anything to kill me.
This is the part where you give me the "we're not so different, you and I" speech again.
Oh, God, hell no. You're way better at killing people than I am. How many people do you think were on Helios, huh? How many of your co-workers did you just eject into space to get rid of me, huh? What makes you think you're the good guy in this scenario, huh?
Guess I'll have to live with that.
I'll spare you the amount of times I've told myself exactly the same thing. Everyone thinks they're the hero of their own story. And I should have seen this coming. Ever since I came to this nacho-flavored shithole planet, I've been betrayed by everybody I gave a rat's ass about. My boss, my girlfriend, hell, my goddamn daughter. No, maybe I deserved it. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
So your characters, your protagonists, should always feel like they are the heroes of their own story. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're always doing the right thing, but they do think, or they do think they're making the best decisions to get them to where they want to be, or to dealing with their current problems. Now, does that mean that their answers are morally correct? Does that mean that their answers are rationally correct? No, but it's not necessary for your protagonist to be morally correct in order for them to be a protagonist. They just have to think that they are doing the right thing for their situation. So let me take you on a journey to my story that is not yet written but has been developing for I don't even know how long. How old are the twins? I feel like they're like 7 or 8 years old. They have to be. So I've got a set of twins that I made with my best friend, Foster and Parker. They were molested as children by family members. Their parents just sent them away to boarding school because they didn't want to deal with it. They didn't know how to deal with it, and they were like, "If we don't have to look at these kids, they'll just figure out how to get over their trauma." Yeah, one of them became more or less asexual. He also started doing drugs. He also was a bit of a cutter and ran into a tree with his car. Now he's addicted to pain medication that he got for his back when he messed it up in his car when he considered killing himself, because he had tried before, but the twins are there for each other. Anyway, the other one is becoming sexually addicted in order to deal with the pain, and then of course he feels shame when he can't control himself and ends up in more situations of having sex that he doesn't want to be in because he can't stop himself from that compulsion. Now, in the moments where he's feeling desperate, he thinks he's making the right decision because he can't stop the compulsion, and he tells himself, this is what I need to do in order to solve this. Now, is that morally sound? Not really. Is that rational? Not really. But is he a protagonist? Yes, he is. He is one of the main characters of that story. Is it ethical? What does that even mean? We're not telling ethical stories, and that's one of the traps I think people fall into, is they're trying to educate. They're trying to make their characters these moral beacons. See, now I'm getting totally off what I actually wanted to talk about here, which is that too many authors are suddenly making their characters these moral beacons of this is how you should act. We have to create characters that represent how people should act, or the best of people. And it's not just making the character a hero in their own story, but it is the author creating that character specifically for the purpose of using them as a beacon for the author's morality. Okay? Do all of my characters, especially my protagonists, mirror my morality? No, they do not. I can tell you they do not. Hello over there, my Jeffrey Dahmer-inspired story protagonist. Do you have my morality? I should hope not. I should hope that we don't have. We all obviously have some things. Now let's not get too crazy here. We obviously have something in common for me to be writing about him. But I digress. When you create Safe Space and Snowflake, and you say they're doing this in order to take these names back, and it says something like, I think the author said something about how they wanted to bully people and to get rid of the bullies, and that's awesome. It sounds actually like the making of a bad guy, because it usually is the bad guy that says these are my moral issues and I want to force you to comply with them. It is not usually the good guy that says, this is my moral standing, and, it would be nice if you played my game, but if you don't, I'm not going to hold it against you. That is usually the good guy. The good guy usually shows an example, but doesn't try to force people into their moral code. Now see, Safe Space and What's-His-Face, and all of these characters that you're making where they are this beacon of this is morality and everybody should be like this, they could actually be interesting if you wrote them as heroes of their own story that is trying to make other people fall in line with them. That is the villain. We are now following a villain's journey into creating the world they want. However, that's not what you do. What you're doing, and this is why your stories suck, is you're trying to get morality points. Oh, look at how good of a person I am. I've created this character that is this beacon of everything that I consider good. And look, I've created this bad guy that is everything I consider bad. And when you're doing that, you also make your character unable to do anything bad. That might make the audience question their morality, their personality. They might go, oh, I don't like that this character did that. And you're trying to stop the readers or the viewers from disliking that character by not making them do anything that might be questionable. They won't get in arguments with their teammates. They won't make a bad decision that actually hurts them. They won't kill somebody who hurt them and go, yeah, I am morally correct for doing that. Unless it's a Nazi, because, you have to be the moral king on Nazi Hill. But they won't take personal pleasure in having crossed that line. Whereas somebody who's been victimized by somebody really might take some pleasure, and then some guilt, in doing that thing. But in a lot of cases where I've seen this super good character kill somebody, they never actually feel guilt, and they're never made to feel guilt over what they did, because They were fully, completely justified in doing that killing, and so they never have to reflect on it. And this makes your character boring. When you make your character so perfect that they do not have a flaw, that they do not have morally questionable anything, because they are an avatar for what you think is moralistically perfect, they are boring. They're not human anymore, they're deities. That's what you're actually creating, and your deities are even less interesting than actual deities, because at least the Greek gods also all have Achilles' heels. This has a secondary effect on your work, by the way. It makes your villains more interesting and more sympathetic because they are willing to have faults. They are actually able to have faults. They're more realistic. They're more like people because they actually fail and suck and have bad personalities. And readers can identify better with that than this person over here who's a moral beacon. And if you are making the moral beacon style character, I'm sorry, your story is going to be boring. There are two main pitfalls that I have seen authors fall into. Number one is everybody in the story automatically loves that character. You know, they've got like 4 love interests, and the girl at high school loves them, and their best friend's dad is in love with them, and just everybody around them loves or adores them or thinks that they are awesome. Maybe, and I might be exaggerating a little bit here, it might not be everybody around them, but it is a large portion of people around them who just kind of like them. By making your characters like a certain character, it will not inspire the reader to also like that character. For me, and you know, consider this anecdotal, if everybody in the story loves that character and they are perfect, I usually freaking hate that character, and there's nothing you can do about it because everybody just loving them makes me just dislike them more. It feels so artificial, it feels forced, and it feels like the author is trying to lead me into feeling a certain way about that character. Number two, that is often done in order to make the reader bond with the main character, is a trauma overload. Because a lot of people think that if you put a character through something really terrible or lots and lots of trauma, and you introduce that trauma, especially early on, that it will make the reader bond with that character because, oh my goodness, they've been through such horrible things. I cannot believe they've gone through such horrible things. I feel bad for them. But if you don't build a relationship with your readers first, they're not going to care about the trauma. And you cannot use trauma as a shortcut to having your readers care about your character. Make your readers care about your character, and then they will care about the trauma. But these two things often come up so much for trying to deepen the bond with a shallow character. Instead of doing these, just stop trying to make your character a perfect beacon of morality. Stop trying to make your character well, this is how you should act. This isn't the magic school bus. This isn't, you know, Nick Jr. We're not trying to learn how to act. We're trying to be entertained. And I just cannot even express how irritating I think it is if an adult is writing for an adult, but they're writing this character in order to teach an adult how to act. Thank you, Mr. Condescension. I'm never going to purchase anything from you. And if you put your story in front of me, I will happily ream it across the, pull it across the coals, rake it across the coals. I will happily rake it across the coals for why it fails as a story. Take a look at Aesop's Fables, and even they aren't as perfect as you're trying to make your characters out to be. But that's all I'm going to say. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is your story suffering from something like this? Have you suffered from this before? Do you use trauma, especially early on in your stories? I want to see how often that actually happens. Let me tell you, in my early days of writing, when I was doing so much forum writing, my best friend and I have jokes about this, it was always an angst off. We would start the role plays, and everybody would try to fill their posts with their characters, especially the initial posts, with how much trauma and angst they could possibly have in their life. And you look at the bios, and the bios were always trying to out-angst each other, because everybody had to have a sad, sad story. And it's fine to make your characters have a sad story. It's also a cliche to go over the top with sad. But let me know how you feel on this subject in the comments down below. If you like this kind of content, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have anything that you would like to see me talk about, please let me know. And until next time, don't die. See you later.